Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have Stinger, the North American release of the second title in the Twin Bee series. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. As we start the game, we have this cutscene where our alien enemies, the Attack-Ons, are kidnapping Professor Cinnamon. Professor Cinnamon developed this bio-nuclear sweetener the Attack-Ons want. They love cotton candy, and they're going to use that sweetener to turn Earth into a giant ball of cotton candy. Bizarre, but that's just Twin Bee for you. Of course, we can't let that happen, so we're off to save Professor Cinnamon. Right off the bat, though, you might notice this doesn't look like your standard Twin Bee title. Most of the games in Twin Bee series are vertical scrolling shoot-em-ups, but this one is a hybrid. There are 7 stages total, and of those 7 stages, 4 of them are horizontal scrolling, and the other 4 are vertical scrolling. So that creates some differences with power-ups from the other series, where in this one, we've got, not necessarily power-ups, sorry, our actual weapons. In this one, we have the shot and the bomb, which are the hallmark of the franchise, linked to the same button on the horizontal scrollers. And then they're on separate buttons on the vertical scrollers, which is unfortunate. I wish that they'd keep the same scheme between them, but that being the case, what does that extra button do? Well, in the horizontal scrollers, the extra button, instead of firing a bomb, fires this heart, which we use to keep the bells in the sky so that we can get power-ups. So the bells are the traditional power-up system of Twin Bee. Shoot the bells long enough, and they'll turn from yellow, which if we were to collect the yellow bells, we get points, into different colored power-ups. Starting off with blue, if we collect the blue bell, we get speed. If we go to the next level, white, we get a double shot. Beyond that, you have red, which gives you the laser, white, which gives you this, white and blue, sorry, white and red comes first. That gives you an after image, multiple option style, additional firepower, and lastly, you have the white and blue blinking bell, which gives you a barrier. And that was what I picked up earlier in the stage, largely to help with survivability. But once we've collected the power-ups we want, which in this case I've got a couple speed-ups, as well as the double shot and a barrier, then we'll start collecting the bells for points. As we collect the bells, their points increase if you don't drop any off the bottom of the screen. So they start off at 500 and they go all the way up to 10,000. And that makes it really easy to start getting 1-ups once you have the bells at full value, as it takes 100,000 points or 10 full point bells to get an additional 1-up. So if you're looking for high scores or you want to stockpile lives, that's a great way to do it. Another really neat feature to the Twin Bee series is the ghost system. So if we happen to die, there'll be a ghost come from our ship. And if we are able to collect that ghost before it goes off the top of the screen, all the power-ups that we had previously will be transferred to our new life. But if you've picked up a ghost, then you won't have a ghost the second time around. I'm not really sure what that means from an afterlife standpoint, but it's something to think about. Here's our first boss, Watermelon Head. Pretty easy to take down, especially with double shot. Moving on to stage 2, the Undersea Kingdom in the Indian Ocean. The first stage was titled The Island in the Pacific Ocean. That's these bizarre, simplistic and weird names. So as I mentioned, the bomb is on a second... Oh wow, secret. Oh, a Konami symbol. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, the bomb is on a separate button from our shot on the vertical scrollers. So we have a little reticule that shows us where we'll be aiming, and we can use that to blow up things on the ground for power-ups, points, that sort of thing. So here's where I feel the second title in the Twin Bee series gets quite difficult. This stage is surprisingly challenging compared to the first, where we have all these enemies coming in from the left and the right, and I guess that's part of it, is when you're changing back and forth between the two perspectives, you expect certain kind of enemy patterns, and when you don't, like when you're getting changing patterns, it can make the game significantly more difficult. I wonder if we can get a bell back to white and blue status. Our shield's taken some hits, so I'd like to be able to replenish it if possible. Let's see if we can do that with this one. Next up, blinking. Can we take it to the next level? Yes, we can. Full barrier, I hope? Maybe? So, let's talk a little bit about the releases themselves. I didn't want another speed, but that's okay. So, the game originally came out in '86 on the Famicom Disk System. And the original Japanese version, Moero Twin Bee, actually featured 3-player co-op, which is really awesome. So, the Famicom had 2 hardwired controllers, and then it had an expansion port in the front, so you could actually plug in the 3 controllers. That's not something that was available for the NES, as there were only the 2 controller ports and the 4-player adapters hadn't come along yet. So, the North American release, Stinger, is only 2-player. Here we are at the boss of the second stage. He uses his tentacles to attack us, but if we destroy them before he shoots them at us, then we're generally safe. So that was a big difference between the original Japanese release and the North American release, is the dropping of the 3rd player, unfortunately. It would also get a release for just a straight-up Famicom cartridge in '93 in Japan, and that version added easy difficulty, as the game itself can be pretty difficult. It's hard to get going, and it's one of those ones where once you've powered yourself up, if you happen to lose those powers, then it can be quite a difficult game to proceed in. But the Ghosts does help alleviate that to a certain extent. So, and there we have it. That's more or less Stinger for you. So what are my minus flavors? Well, just the change in feel between the horizontal and the vertical scrollers is jarring in my mind, and it's not something that I think is particularly great. It's nice to have the 2 styles of gameplay, but at the same time, it's just jarring, and it goes and helps make the game feel inconsistent in its difficulty. As far as the plus flavors, though, it's a Twin Bee game. And so it's got that, like, bizarre, fun, like, silliness that the series is known for. So if you like that, it's definitely a game that I'd recommend checking out if you haven't played it before. So, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.